the chance. They were born in bloody circumstance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. From the underground, given room to breathe, not be drowned. So die if you get the chance. Better men than you've been, let this dance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. I've seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me.
Good evening, welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast. It is myself, John Anderson, in the hot seat once again. We're going to bring you some news and reviews, and we're going to concentrate mainly tonight on the fabulous victory for Scotland in the Women's TikTok Six Nations. Tonight, I am joined by my two besties, Craig and Lisa. Good evening, folks.
Hello.
Hello.
And we've got a blast from the past, a returning icon himself. It is Johnny McGinty. Johnny, where have you been, first of all?
I've been moving house. Been good full cami, so you can see if you're watching on the stream, you'll see my new background. Took me a lot less time than it took Cami, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's because Cami moves he seems to have moved 17 times in the last 2 years. So
I picked a terrible time to move as well. My good name being slandered on here on a weekly basis, and more importantly, some frankly atrocious food opinions getting thrown out as well. That's what I'm more concerned about.
What food opinions is this, Johnny? Please do tell.
Well, for a start, do you know what? It was mostly Cami, and he's not even here to defend himself.
Oh yeah, he's
for a start, Feta's brilliant on a pizza. I don't know what he's talking about. I heard him say that last weekend about had to pull the car over.
Well, it's great to have you back, Johnny, and hopefully you can bring your own unique brand of food-related chat to the podcast tonight.
Oh, I will.
So welcome anybody joining us tonight. If you are joining us for the first time, for you. Good luck. Please, try to get all the way through. Just don't judge us in this first 5 minutes.
That's the way to get people on side, John. That's the way. Keep going.
Craig,
it's the unique sales pitches that I've missed so much.
I don't sell Hoovers like you, Craig. So.
Oh, a complete horrendous pizza topping choice, first of all, and then just oh, by the way, thanks for tuning in. You're not going to like this.
Wait, I'm under promise, over deliver. That's what I aim for. Everything
He's expertly deflected away from you dropping an H-bomb on him inside 5 minutes as well.
It's fine. I'm not. I am absolutely and utterly not picking up any of your pish tonight.
Anyway, if you happen to like what you see here, well, there's probably questions to be asked. But you can head over to patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast, where you can support the podcast more and get yourself some exclusive content, including our Hands of the Ruck section, where Craig's, frankly, PG-13 language will be allowed to be let loose, more R-rated for everyone. And
Don't censor me. Stop censoring me. Don't tread on me.
Do you know, I'll be honest with you, that's the thing I was most worried about. All day today, I was like, I've not been on the pod for like 6 weeks. And like every hour or so, I was like, need to remember, can't swear for the first half.
Yes.
Other than being at work, this is the longest I've gone without swearing in a long time.
No word of a lie. I actually have a post-it note right there on my screen that I put up every time I podcast. First hour, no, it's like block capitals, no swearing. So yeah, we all struggle with it a wee bit, but it's just because we're so passionate about Scottish rugby. So
yeah,
I know. Look at that. That was a good sales pitch, wasn't it? Anyway, right. Let us go on to the main event. Let's just get straight into it. Scotland 36, Ireland 10. Absolutely brilliant stuff. It was a great match to watch. I'll come to you first, Lisa. Delighted, obviously, but talk to us again. Give us some insight. What went right?
I think it's just every little bit that they've been doing over the whole Six Nations. Everything just kind of came together. Mauls were looking sharp. I know there's a couple to start with were a bit like, oh, this is a bit all over the shop, what's happening? But yeah, we knew they were going to stick pretty hard to the Mauls. Ireland defensively weren't competing at all during the whole Six Nations. So it made sense, easy ball, easy tries for Lana, hard things for me to describe. But again, the forwards really stepped up, though. I think we were able to have more of a power game against Ireland because we could get on top of them, where we've maybe struggled against France and England, who are more physical, have more experience in the pack than we do. And it was nice seeing the backs, in the last 10 minutes, finally actually have a shot and have a go. Like, we've spoken about how threatening Fran McGee is and Karine and Chloe in the back three, but we weren't really giving them opportunities to show what they could do and showcase what they could do. They were only really working off scraps. Whereas actually this time round, we actually gave them a bit of time on ball and opportunities and space to actually have a go at Ireland's relatively inexperienced wingers. So yeah, I think we played a little bit more sensible rugby of like, okay, what are our strengths? Let's actually use them.
Yeah, and Craig, thinking about, like, again, it's been evident throughout this tournament for me, but talk to me about the physicality. Like, how good was that? They were so big.
Yeah, I think I have to echo, not to sound like I'm just agreeing with Lisa all the time, but I tend to have to just agree with Lisa. Where maybe against Italy, the game was dominated by our forwards. I think our forwards, we got the balance right just when we decided to use the forwards in the first half to really tire out Ireland, and I think that came into play when our backs then got the ball and started to run them around the park in the second half. So I think it was, and that 1 through 8 and then 16, 17 and 18 all had they showed their power, showed their ability, but they also, for me, they were, what I like is seeing clean ball at the back of the ruck, and there was a lot of that at the weekend, and I was really pleased to see that, and allowing the scrum half and the backs to deal with the ball after, get it, quick. Me, I love quick ball. So the ball presentation and having clean ball at the back of the ruck was very good.
And coming to you, Johnny, how big a victory is this for Scotland? Given, I mean, that was a tight game up to 60 odd minutes. They had to defend for large periods of that first section, but to then go and get a comprehensive victory in the end up, how big is that?
Yeah, I think in particular in the context of backing up the win from last week, it was really, really important, because the Italy win last week obviously was a huge deal, and you could see how much it meant to the players at the end of that game. But I think Scotland, both men and women, for the last little while, have had this real issue where they'll get over a hump with a big sort of talismanic win like that, and then they'll not back it up. So to then go in and win again, I think was really important. And to win that comprehensively, we all kind of know what's happening with Ireland at the moment. So you wouldn't want to put too much stock in it on its own in a win over Ireland, because they've obviously got their own problems. But for it to be, backing up the win from last week and kind of setting ourselves in a bit of a role, and not just winning, but winning with a really, really solid performance, I think kind of stands us in good stead for what's coming next. It does feel like a bit of a corner turn for this group.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Johnny. And it's interesting you mentioning Ireland and where Ireland are. Lisa, I'll come back to you with this one. Obviously we talked in the preview last week about where Ireland were at, how, conceded a lot of points, not scored much, struggled, hadn't put any points on the board. They finished the tournament bottom, 0 points. Where are Ireland? Do you recognise where Ireland are in terms of where Scotland have been?
Yeah, I think so. There's obviously a lot can be said about the performance and what's happening on the pitch, but I think also there's a lot being shown off the pitch which just isn't right at the minute within the IRFU. And in terms of, obviously, there's a big sexism thing they're embroiled in, and the support and stuff like that. And there's definitely, in my long career, we've had moments like that as well, where we haven't been supported by the union, and you're wanting us to compete against, these top nations and do so well and stuff. But if, these things are coming up, your mind's taken away from, your job of doing your stuff on the pitch. And yeah, I think it's hard. Obviously, they relied so heavily on their sevens girls as well. I think they're working really hard with trying to find youth players and young players coming in. I think O'Brien at 10, she's 19 years old and she's steering the ship, and I thought she had an outstanding game for Ireland there. But they're trying to bring in this youth and this young team to prepare them for the next World Cup and give them a bit more depth when they're not going to have the likes of Bevan Parsons and Eve Higgins and such. But you're going to have a rocky time before you're going to get any success, and I think it'll be interesting to see if Greg McWilliams keeps his job after this. I know that at the minute he's in talks with the IRFA about the performance at the Six Nations, and you would maybe like to. It's one of those things, you either want to give him up until the World Cup so you can have a good solid time, or it's a change now and you've got to make something out of it over the next 2 years, and get these guys into the World Cup again and actually perform pretty well, because we've seen these guys Ireland have pedigree. They've won the Grand Slam before. They've beaten New Zealand in their own home patch before as well. So there is ability there. It's just giving these guys the right support, because like we said, we can see the youth coming through and the talent there. They just need support and backing from their union, and contracts given to them that are actually feasible to live on, really, because at the minute I think it's peanuts.
Yeah, because quite a few of them had obviously been offered contracts and turned them down, not dissimilar to a few of the Scottish players as well. Speaking of youth, though, Craig, I'll come back to you just now whilst you fix your glasses. We've talked throughout this tournament about, we've obviously had the experienced campaigners who've stood up for Scotland this year, but some of the new blood coming through, incredibly exciting, obviously bookended beautifully by Fran McGee's try, which was just a piece of magnificence. How far can this Scotland team go in its current guise?
I think we talked about it prior to the Six Nations and prior to the World Cup, when they announced that they were going to start talking about contracts after the World Cup, and where I think Brian Eason's kind of done a great job is the fact that he's not thrown the baby out with the bathwater, which maybe I was more inclined to do so. And he's brought in, he's kept certain players in place that have had a very, very good Six Nations. People like Lana Skeldon and obviously Jade Conkle-Roberts, and I think Lisa Thompson's done well as well. And also Chloe Rowley has shown her usual flashes. The only, let's just say that she has a very similar. If you put her and Stuart Hogg together, they're very similar fullbacks. If you know what I mean, they like to end up just saying, "Oh, so that I'm going to do this myself," and try and win a game themselves at times. But they've obviously performed very well during the Six Nations. But bringing in new caps, bringing in Fran McGee just looked fantastic. Did a great job. I think also someone who came off the bench more than, and I've talked about her before, Beth Blacklock, has really, there's new caps that are coming in. Okay, Beth's playing down at Harlequins, so she's playing in a professional sort of setup, but they're starting to show it's been a great balance. We're getting this excitement of the youth players coming through. So all we can do is continue on this arc of building, and it sounds a really boring answer. But I think we're not, and I really hope we don't get into the situation that Ireland has. And just as Lisa, again, I'm going to agree with Lisa. As Lisa has said, Ireland had it all. Ireland were leaders in the field at the time. And the powers that be at Ireland have properly wrecked the women's game. And they need to, if God, I think I'll wait until the Patreon comes up, because there's quite a lot of mixtures with religion and women's rugby over in Ireland that they seem to wait for a long time till things change. I think we, as long as we keep going the way that we're going and not have the heights of winning, and then the towel being ripped from underneath everyone's feet, if you know what I mean. And I think we're on a good arc, but I think we're 5 years too late. But I think we're on a good arc now.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair, Craig. And it's interesting, actually, that the table almost played out in terms of professionalism. Like, the amount of professionalism we've had almost played out through the table. So that was interesting to see. On that note, Johnny, of course, the Six Nations had real implications for the new W15 tournament. Scotland in the second tier after their finishing fourth in the table. How big a deal is that? We talked in the podcast before about almost there being enough for two tiers plus one, and that third tier will probably be a bit of a domination for whoever ends up in there, in this case Ireland. How big a deal is that for Scotland, and where can they go with that?
It's a tricky one, because I think big, but at the same time, the press and stuff for this W15 has been so terrible that I don't think anybody really knows yet. It seems like being in the second tier is going to be going to be great for Scotland, and it's going to put us in a decent level of competition. But anybody seen any sort of idea as to how the format works, or even where it's going to be?
Yeah.
The press
I
and
heard
publication stuff
rumours
on it has
it's
been
like
rotten.
out east.
Yeah. All it seems to be, it's meant to be in 4 months, is like the occasional rumour comes out and then we hear a little bit about these tiers. And all the teams in the Six Nations knew they were playing for their tiers, but they didn't really know what the tiers meant. It's a shame because it's a tournament with so much potential, and I think it's really exciting that we're in the second tier, but honestly, I've no idea. And the tournament's in 4 months.
Think all these players that have got jobs
It's wild, isn't it?
that rely on. Well, Lisa knows very well about it. How she had to use her holidays to get time up. Use her holidays to get away with the team. How are they supposed to then? Oh, by the way, boss, in a month's time, I'm needing 4 weeks off. Like what? It's like
it's wild. Especially for something that came out with so much potential. Like when this idea first started to appear, it seemed like a great idea. And don't get me wrong, it still does seem like a great idea. But this close to the tournament, I think we should know a lot more about it than we do.
The thing is, I think we're not even going to know fully what teams are going to be there, because a lot of them are obviously, I think we'll get the bottom 2 in the pack 4. So probably I'd assume Canada and the USA. They will be there. We're playing against them. But you're asking, like, a lot of the Canadian girls aren't pro. So again, like Craig said, they're going to have issues of, here, we've had this tournament here. We've also had to shift off to Australia, New Zealand a little bit. And I'm now going to have to go away for probably 4 or 5 weeks to get acclimatized over in, I think, Hong Kong, I want to say. I might be talking rubbish. But I think it's potentially Hong Kong, Singapore sort of way. And then do that as well. And then they've got to figure out, well, here, it might be Italy, but it also might be Spain. And then it's going to be the other teams who also still haven't played their game yet. So in terms of like a prep sort of thing, you can't really do any video analysis because you've got no idea who you're playing. You've got no idea what the schedule is in terms of, okay, it's going to be you against this one first or whatever. And it's just, like you say, it's a very good idea, but I think they're maybe now realising that they've left it very, very last minute just now. And it'll be a lot of stumbling blocks this first time round, but you hopefully to iron them out for the second time, and it's not just a flash in the pan. But stranger things have happened to women's rugby, so God knows.
I've literally given myself more time to organise a school reunion than they're giving themselves to organise a global rugby tournament. So that probably that is not an indication of my organisational skills, which all you know are ghastly. So yeah, it's a really poor show. We have talked on the pod before, Lisa, on this point about it's amateur o'clock still. It's like these things that, we can make all the noises about professionalism, and we see the amazing spectacle, that was the England-France game at the weekend. And, you see everything supposedly progressing, and then you've still got governing bodies making ridiculous things like this happen. So it's troubling.
It's almost like World Rugby's based in Ireland or something, and they don't really regard women's rugby. Oh, they are. Sorry.
Oh, Craig, no, it's fine because there wasn't any women player available, so they had to get models to do the shirt. That was that.
It's awful.
Honestly.
Do you think someone from the IRFU headquarters went downstairs to the World Rugby headquarters and went, lads, listen, our women's team aren't doing that great at the moment, and you're kind of making us look stupid. So let's just mess up this whole tournament for just now. Give us a bit of time.
Well, it makes a difference from
them
going
down to the URC office and sort out the referees for next weekend.
I was going to say it's not like they've gone downstairs and gone, oh, by the way, I think it's about time that we had the European Cup final in Ireland again, in Dublin, and I think we should really have Leinster shouldn't be given they've been away from home so much that they need to be at home for a little while. Could you sort that out, please?
It's literally like their own home sevens tournament. Like, we'll get a good draw.
Yeah.
We'll get on the easy side of the draw, and then it'll be fine.
Yeah, we're not in with the British Army, which is filled with Fijian Sevens players when you're an amateur team. Yeah, no, we'll get the easy draw. Fab. Yeah.
So you saw the game on Saturday then, did you?
Don't even get me started on referees. We'll get there in due course. My days. Right. So that's the end of our Six Nations. A really positive Six Nations for Scotland, finishing 4th in the table. I'm going to come around you in like a circle of some variety, and we'll ask for a few things. So, Lisa, I'll come to you first. Who was your player of the tournament for Scotland?
You'd be hard pushed to go past Fran McGee just with the impact she had. But I'd also say someone who probably snuck in there is Louise McMillan. Like, she does a lot of the dirty work and the stuff you don't see, and she's a link in second row as well. And I think she took on a lot of responsibility and leadership without the likes of Sarah Bonner and Emma Wassell there. So I think, actually, I'm going to go rogue, and I'm going to say a forward, and I'm going to say Louise McMillan. Saddies for the win.
It's almost like you're agreeing with Craig now. I'm noticing a conspiracy here. This is I gave you the podcast title last week as well, but no. Okay, so you're back. I've got Johnny in my corner this week. So
I was waiting. We'll start talking about Glasgow in a minute, and Lisa and I will be switching
I'm pretty sure we can make this first bit last an hour and a half. Craig, same question. Who's your player of the tournament for Scotland?
I'll have to agree with Lisa about
Shocker.
Yeah, okay, about Fran McGee. But I am still going to go into the forwards, and I'm going to say Lana Skeldon. So I think she's had an absolutely phenomenal. Who would guess that I went for a hooker that did incredibly well behind a good rolling maul? What's happening there, Johnny?
Shocker.
You do
You're
like
full
that,
of surprises.
I should remind you guys that Eurovision's a couple of weeks away, so this tactical voting that we've got going on here is you're a couple of weeks early.
Hang on, I chose someone different, although they were in the forwards. It's Lisa that's gone rogue. You know,
she has gone rogue. That's okay. Johnny, same question, mate. Who's your player of the tournament?
I'm going to also choose a forward. I think Rach Malcolm is one of the best captains in the world. I think she was so pleased to see her get the try at the weekend. Her leadership's been amazing. I think it has been since the World Cup. I think she fully deserves it, just based purely on how well she captains the team. So I'll say Rach.
Very good. And I will break the mold as always, and I will pick a back just to add some balance to this forward-dominated madhouse. There was a couple of backs stood out for me. Obviously, Fran McGee's been mentioned, but for that sheer tenacity of the last 10 minutes against England and dragging the team into competitiveness, Chloe Rowley, unbelievable tournament for me. I every time she touched the ball was just electric. So she was my player of the tournament. We're going to go John, the other way. Oh.
I played 3 games on Saturday and didn't play a single minute in the forwards.
Wow.
I'm getting back to my roots.
That's massive. What you've also not said is how many minutes you actually played, though.
I played most of them.
Did you?
I'll tell you about it when we get to Hands in the Ruck.
Oh, okay,
had a bit of a moment on Saturday.
I'm loving that you're teasing Hands in the Ruck for our Patreon customers who, if you're not signed up, please go join just now. You'll get content.
He's got to get near the ruck somehow. So,
that's
some cheek coming from you, Manson.
Brutal.
Inspector General.
Manson. What I heard Manson's nickname was 1 in 4 for rucks.
Listen, I've got a whole folder on my phone of really good photos of Craig like standing with one hand on a ruck.
Ruck Inspector.
Hey, listen. I'm one of those people. I like to be standing guard and making sure that I'm not putting too many. We don't like to put too many in the ruck because we play an expansive game at the How Nights.
What, you like the dorm into the ruck or something? Sorry, your name's on the left. Get
out. Can't believe Craig and Al Kellogg finally have something in common. So there you go.
We don't want Craig in too many rucks so we can make use of his pace and footwork in other places.
Absolutely. Hey, listen. I tell you.
Right. Let's get this show back on the road, you boys.
Sorry.
Enough winding Craig up, because it's normally me that...
Oh, no, it's true. It's all true.
We'll go the other way. Johnny, I'll come to you first. What was your moment of the tournament? for Scotland?
Oh, Fran McGee's try was fantastic. Like, you know, like we say, she was just 19 years old, first tournament. She's been electric all tournament, but that try at the weekend was phenomenal. And I think anyone who wasn't on their feet watching that should probably see the doctor, because you might be dead.
Yeah, it's back to the old, if you don't like that, do you actually like rugby? Comment. So, Craig, same question, moment of the tournament.
Can I have one for Scotland and one for the whole tournament, or is it just one for the whole tournament?
No, you can have one for each. I'm a liberal taskmaster in this situation.
Okay. For me, for Scotland, it was just the final whistle against Italy. I think that just the emotion that was shown was quite something, and I think all of us as Scotland rugby fans have been willing everyone on. And to finally get there after just a wee bit of a run of defeats, it's been fabulous, and just to see the emotion of everyone, it was fantastic. But really, and I think for my main moment of the tournament really is, or the best part of the tournament has been the turnout of the fans. I think being able to see so many fans, we're breaking records at the Dam. England broke records at Twickenham. Even having a sellout at Newcastle, just fantastic. And I think for all of us who have either been involved with women's rugby or follow women's rugby a lot in Scotland, to see the fans starting to get more and more vocal and be involved more and more. I think it's just a fabulous thing.
Yeah, I absolutely, Craig. I was going to touch on the attendance, and we'll come back to that after this. But Lisa, you obviously you can have apparently you can have as many moments of the tournament as you want. But so moment of the tournament for Scotland.
I don't know if I want to go really sassy or not.
Come on, you've always been, so why change?
Always do that, yes.
Make enemies, not friends.
You're fitting in just fine here, Lisa.
I think the fact that we actually used the bench was probably the moment of the Six Nations. It's quite nice. I mean, I'll be honest with you, there was times I was like, okay, we need to bring some fresh legs on here. I think seeing the girls get a decent wacky game time in the Ireland game, I think was great to see. And having been on the bench, it's pretty horrible if you get 30 seconds like, here, just go and do something, or not get on at all when you're a bit like, well, I can provide an impact there. So I think that was my sassy key moment. Other than that, I think just the transformation from first game to last game of the forward pack in general and their ability to assert dominance. I think for too long now we've kind of been this small receding pack that goes just backwards, and as much as we will them to be part of our game plan and stuff like that, we've kind of maybe struggled. But actually seeing them take the front foot and take the game, I think in general was just great to see. Like I said, the evolution over the whole Six Nations of that pack of 8 was great.
I'm all for a sassy moment. So my sassy moment of the tournament was having the joy of watching Lisa try to describe maul tries.
5 of them. 5.
And she's flopped over the line.
Instant regret. I was messaging during the Ireland game. I was messaging one of my old coaches, please give me something intellectual to say about the Mauls, and he was coming back with 4 or 5 of them. Got to the end of the game and Brian spoke for 35 minutes. So I was like, well, I guess that's my points out the window now.
I totally feel you on that, because I always think that Mauls just look like a bit complicated but also easy at the same time. So I'm just like, they pushed, they fell over, we scored. Hooray!
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
well
much
done,
more
hit the ball.
difficult than that.
I am thoroughly upset. That's it. That's I can't even swear. Oh my goodness. Oh.
So I think my Honestly, Greg, I think my actual moment of the tournament was probably, and obviously mentioning Chloe Rowley before, I think it was that last 10 minutes against England, which for me actually set the tone for the rest of the tournament. Scotland had been, after they had a decent start to that game, and then they were blown away by England, which we all expected. But the fight they showed in that last 10 minutes, it showed a lot about the character of that team. And for me, it really did set the tone for the rest of the tournament, to the point where we were all pretty confident moving forward that we could attack these games. This is the first time Scotland have won back-to-back fixtures in, I think it was 2006 or so, or something like that. So, this is a massive step for Scotland, and we have done incredibly well. And I genuinely think that 10 minutes, probably so much was taken from that to move forward. So, so the last question on the Six Nations before we'll talk about the attendance. Lisa, what was the most improved bit of Scotland's game?
Probably our tactical kicking game. I think the decisions to kick in the right areas were there. I mean, maybe in the perfectionist and maybe in a bit of a 10. Maybe the kick choice could be improved a little bit, but the fact that we're actually sensing, okay, we played too much game here, let's kick for territory, let's put it on them, I think was huge. And I think Helen's really settling into being a 10. I mean, I'm still in the corner of Helen's the best 12 we have currently in Scotland, but by the by. But her kicking ability and her control of that sort of area was great. So I think, yeah, our kicking decision making was so much improved.
And Craig, what's your thoughts?
I've got a few, but I'm not going to give you them all because obviously I don't want you moaning at me not by giving you more than one. So
I think I simply made a joke, Craig. I think you can give me as many points as you so desire.
You don't start with your jokes. Don't start with your jokes. I'm very sensitive. I bruise like a peach. Don't start.
Yeah, I've heard.
I think for me, it's. I think the turnaround off the forward pack from the beginning of the England game, all the way through to the final game against Ireland, that we, Lisa and I and yourself discussed the forward pack at the beginning of the tournament and said, that they need to be grittier, stronger. They need to be more, savvy. Need to carry the ball more, and they did everything. I thought this tournament was going to be dominated by the backs with Scotland, and actually the forwards really did a fantastic job. So I was really I thought they really turned up.
Yeah, and then finally over to yourself, Johnny. What was your most improved? What did you see?
Resilience, I think. You talked about that 10 minutes against England and what Chloe Rowley did, and we all know that Rory is fully obsessed with Aaron Walsh and the work that he's doing across the whole SRU setup. There does seem to be a bit of a mindset shift in Scottish rugby, everyone except Edinburgh. The under-20s are maybe taking a little minute to catch on to it as well. But yeah, certainly both full senior international teams have had a real sort of change in mindset and the way they attack when circumstances aren't quite going their way. I think Scotland of last year probably would have folded a lot easier. That Italy game, I would have been a lot more uncomfortable watching last year. This year, they just did seem to kind of be a little bit more settled, attack sort of suboptimal situations a lot better than they have done in the past. I just seem to have a little bit of grittiness about them when games were in the balance. Came back, obviously, I mean, the Red Roses game was a game against the Red Roses. That's kind of what you come to expect, but they did kind of claw their way back into it. They hung in there with Italy when it was beginning to look like it was getting really tough. They seem to have a different mindset this year, which has made a huge difference, I think.
All absolutely correct, yeah. And I think it's great that we can go round and we've all got a different thing that's most improved as well. For me, just sheer physicality. It was at times brutal watching, particularly at the weekend there. But the last couple of weekends, it was brutal watching those Scotland forwards carrying ball and some of the defensive work, like two-person tackles, absolutely smashing people behind the game line. It was absolutely brilliant to watch, and it's that sort of, rugby's we've all played rugby. We know. We try to, you try to find space, you try to, do things to not get smashed. But sometimes it just takes one of your teammates going and absolutely obliterating someone to really get the confidence going and get you're in a game and you're going to be going forward at that point. So for me, the physicality was unbelievable this tournament, and I was delighted with how. We've talked actually about how Scotland in the past have maybe been considered to have a slightly softer pack. And we spoke right at the start of the tournament, but maybe being a bit more streetwise, a wee bit more ruthless. It was the kind word we used. Some of the stuff at the weekend, they were just brutal with their physicality, and I was all on board with that. So that was my moment of the tournament. Closing off the TikTok Six Nations, second year it's been sponsored by TikTok, Lisa. Obviously, social media coverage has been insane. It's been amazing to see record crowds. Scotland set their record at the weekend, over 4,000 people turning up. Women's rugby is very much on the, it's front and centre in a lot of people's minds. What next? Where do we go from here?
I think the only way is up, really. I think we can see that the product's there and the people want the product. It's now about continually supporting that product to keep getting better and better. And the likes of like England and France do it well. Like you see the crowds they're getting, they see the fact that the whole community comes out, and that day is solely just for those guys. And I think that's what we want to get to have across Wales, Ireland, and obviously at Peter as well, and in Italy too. But I think it's just that continual support from the unions and improvement on what we've already currently got. Yeah, this is what we've got, it's working now, but okay, how can we make it better? What else can we offer? What else do you guys need? So that, again, like I said, the product keeps getting better and better, so we get more fans coming to watch it, especially like young fans as well, and actually try and change the stereotypes of like maybe some of your tweed jacket men as well would be lovely. That might be a bit much to ask so far. That one can wish. But I think just trying to change perceptions and actually continually show like this isn't just a flash in the pan, this is here and it's here to stay.
I think anyone who wants their perception, who has a negative perception or wants any sort of perception changing, simply watch England-France from the weekend and tell me that is not the best rugby you've seen in years. It was unbelievable. Just
atmosphere looked amazing as well.
Yeah. 58,000, I think, at Twickenham.
Yeah.
I saw a stat that said 5-1 new fans to existing fans.
Yep.
5-1 people buying tickets for that game that had never bought a rugby ticket before, which is unbelievable.
But obviously they were talking as well about the queues for the merchandise, the queues for the various things compared to the queues for the pints, and it being a very, very different demographic. And that's amazing. And perhaps we will touch on that when we maybe come to Hands in the Ruck, because perhaps the rugby crowds, it's great to see that family atmosphere and people coming along to the game and supporting it properly. And yeah, again, the damn health, Craig. I've been completely complimentary about the damn health throughout this tournament. 4,000 people, again, great home for Scottish women's rugby.
Yeah, it's no matter what is said and all the different things that are said about the damn health. No matter, it's a very good venue, and I think whether whatever team's playing there, whoever's watching is getting a high quality experience, mainly due to how close you are to the pitch. You're almost playing the game with the players on the pitch, and it is a wee cauldron of noise, and you really do get a lot of noise there. So I'm really pleased that that Scotland have a home there. And I'm not, and this is absolutely, rather than yourselves, I'm not digging at Glasgow today. I just think that having somewhere as tight and as compact as the Dam, that gives you a very, very good experience. And again, hopefully that will increase the numbers of people coming to see women's rugby, and hopefully we'll graduate over to Castle Grayskull, to coin a phrase, Lisa. Next, that's never going to leave us.
You're welcome.
So it's really, it's a plus point.
So to come back to something else, it's almost like we remember all the things you've said on this podcast so far, Lisa. Your insight and your commentary has been incredible so far. I remember you talking at length about not wanting cast-off coaches who, the jobs for the boys just being put into women's coaching roles. So today, England have went for a hold my beer approach. John Mitchell has been announced the successor to Simon Middleton. John Mitchell, who has been assistant coach, defence coach at England, has been assistant coach at England before as well. How do you feel about that appointment, Lisa?
I am unsure, to be honest. There's maybe a reason he's stayed assistant coaches for a while under very different guises. It'll be interesting to see, because I'm not entirely sure how much experience he has coaching women. I know there's a lot of chat around, well, why are we not bringing one of the Allianz Premier 15s coaches up? Someone like a Susie Appleby, or I know like Alex Osterbury's name was like banded around for a little bit as well. You've seen what these guys have been doing for a long time at club level, and the way they're able to, pump out internationals here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure how it's going to go down. I think they've tried to keep a bit of consistency with obviously Lewis Deacon staying there, and Sarah Hunter staying up and involved, and obviously one of the 20s coaches, Lou, staying on as well and moving up to be attack coach to help his transition more so than the girls' transition. But yeah, I'm withholding judgment till I see what he's like and actually find out who he is. So
yeah, and obviously, Craig, looking at, so we've talked before. Lisa talked rightly about women coaches. There's lots of good women coaches out there who should be maybe getting opportunities to progress. Only France out of the top nations, are the only country to have a female head coach. We've still got, I almost said a sweary word there, but we've still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think that, but again, Scotland as a whole need to work harder progressing their coaches through the system. No matter whether they're women coaches or male coaches, they're not. I don't feel they're developing their coaches as well as they possibly could. What stuck with me when Lisa first came into the pod and we're discussing was definitely the comment. Our comment on, we want someone who wants to coach Scotland women. Isn't using Scotland women as a stepping stone. And I think the issue you have with and so I don't, I would be far happier with no matter what sex the coach is, as long as they're saying that the pinnacle for them is coaching Scotland women. And I think obviously I know a lot of female coaches within Scotland, and I know there are some fantastic female coaches within Scotland and around the world, and Scotland have never shied away from bringing a coach in from abroad. So I just, I think we need to, obviously, we'll see how Brian goes for the next wee while, because I'm sure he's going to stay on for a wee while longer. I don't think they're going to turn anything over. But my hands in the ruck was actually the John Mitchell appointment, because it does not make sense to me whatsoever.
No.
Especially when you can, just as Lisa says, you've got these fantastic coaches in the Premier 15s that could come up. Sarah Hunter. Now, I don't know if it's because she just wants, it's a position she wants, but a transitional coach, I would have far rather. She's been coaching with Loughborough for a long time, so I would have expected her to have a slightly more senior role within England. I think England have really dropped the ball there, because we all know John Mitchell's reputation, and I don't know if it's going to gel or not with the team. But I think as a whole, sorry,
he's basically responsible for the All Blacks' famous no dickheads policy, and not because he came in and implemented it, but because the culture within the All Blacks was so terrible when he was the coach that the next coach came in and went, right, rid of all of this. We're going to start again.
Well,
so, yeah, we'll just have to see.
Has eroded somewhat as the years have passed. So let's see. Maybe Scott Robertson will go back to that basic principle and get some good players wearing the black shirt once again. I agree with all you guys. I think it's a strange appointment, but we'll see how it goes. And I think the only problem for me is he's inheriting a team that are dominant. Like he can almost rest in the laurels of how good that team is and get away with a lot. And I just hope that that's not the case, and actually he's challenged as a coach. So,
well, he has to be careful because France almost took that Grand Slam away from him.
They gave them a fright, didn't they? They were very, very good. Right. Well, let's dedicate the last 10 minutes to, if you believed BT Sport at the weekend, the first Scottish team to reach a European final. They, of course, are not, as we like to. I said in the podcast last week, Craig, that I supported Edinburgh when they reached their European final. Glasgow went down to the Scarlets. A shocker of a first half, Johnny McGinty. They were still in the dressing room for the first 40.
Yeah, I think Franco will have had some quite choice words about the discipline in particular in that first half. I would not have liked to have been in the Glasgow dressing room at halftime, but whatever went on obviously worked, because the second half was like night and day compared to the first. The most obvious yellow card and penalty try you'll ever see in your life aside, Glasgow were pretty dominant for most of the second.
Are we so sure though?
Absolutely 100% certain. I've never seen a surer penalty try and yellow card in my life. And I was wetting myself as he talked his way out of it.
Kevin Miller, who a friend of the pod, who does the On Top of the Moon blog, he was commenting in the Glasgow Warriors forum about it, and actually, like, the wording, because there's obviously a push for like a failed interception should not always be a yellow card if there's a genuine attempt to.
It's one of my least favourite laws.
Yeah,
but it is the law.
They've changed the wording slightly, so if there is a realistic opportunity for the player to regather, is the kind of wording of the law. Now, if you watch Ollie Smith, he does go hand up to try and bat it up into the air. And yes, he is at full stretch doing that, but I don't think we can necessarily judge someone on how stretched they are. It then
if he's basically fallen on the ground as he gets it the second time, I think we probably can.
Yeah, but it does make a touch on the ball, so there is enough there. At the time I thought yellow card penalty try, but I loved.
Oh, I still do. And do you know what? I'm not even that fussed. I think it's hilarious. I watched all the Scarlets fans go absolutely mental on Twitter. It was great.
Lisa, did you happen to catch the game?
I was watching it again actually earlier, so second time round. Look at me. First half was interesting. Glasgow were like like you say, didn't come out the sheds, and B, we're then trying to play far too quick for another try to play quick band rugby, but it was literally lightning quick for like 15 minutes, and I think even the ref might be like, please can we just stop for some water. But I think someone took a tactical Kit Kat as well so they could get some water. But yeah, that was good. I think only thing that's maybe slightly worrying going into Toulon, and the next one is probably their just breakdown. Like the amount of turnovers they were getting and penalties against for holding on was maybe a little bit worrying. Is that because we're trying to play too quickly and we're just not getting support there, or is that because player on the floor is not working hard enough? Who knows? But yeah, it'll be an absolute ding dong battle. I think it'll be good. I mean, I'm excited to watch some rugby and support a Scottish team in a final.
Excellent. That's what we like to hear. Similar to what Jamie Ritchie came out today and said as well. He's backing Glasgow because he wants
top right corner here has gone awfully quiet though.
No, we're going to come to the top right corner just now. Just for the last, you can have the final word on this. Craig, obviously a Scottish team in a final. That's really positive for Scottish rugby. Will you be donning the black and blue and supporting Glasgow on the 19th of May?
I'd rather clap my hands with a crap in it. No, I'm joking. No, I fully, I fully intend to support Glasgow on the weekend. Coming up to the final, I should say. We had the opportunity to go down that route, and a lot of Glasgow fans followed Edinburgh and wished Edinburgh well. So I have no qualms whatsoever. It's going to be interesting to see. I think Glasgow have been on a phenomenal journey this season, and it'll be nice to see them. After the doldrums that they've had and some of the awful times they've had over the last couple of years, it'd be nice to see them get something out of it. And if we're not in it, then obviously I'm going to support Glasgow. I think they've got a very, very tough opposition. But I think it's going to be a fantastic game to watch. It's going to be one of two things. Either Toulon are going to come out and absolutely monster everybody. I don't think they will, but they are either going to do that, or it's going to be a very close game. Or there is a third option that Glasgow run them off their feet. You never know.
Well, this is Toulon with Brian Aluanisi and Cornel Dupree in the pack, and a 114-year-old Sergio Parisi, who was utterly disgusting at the weekend. Oh my days! Oh, I was like. Just
that grubber kick through though.
Just yeah.
Like,
Sorry, I just.
That's all I'm saying. Goat.
Sorry, what you going to say, Lisa?
He's the goat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, no matter what anyone says, Cornel Dupree is actually very, very good, and he's a great player. And we only saw. We only scratched the surface with him when he played at Edinburgh,
I mean, he's no Rory Darge, and he's also only scratched the surface with him. But we'll do our best to keep.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. So I think we'll continue some of this chat once we move over to the Patreon, because I think we can all cut loose a wee bit more. Johnny, just as before we go, so a £37 hostel bed in Dublin, on the 19th of May. How much is it going for?
£340.
£496.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking about going, but I'm not booking any accommodation.
Yeah,
I'm going to just go to the game, go to the casino, go back to the airport.
I was going to say that is probably the cheapest way. Yeah, disgusting. And interestingly, if Glasgow were to be successful this weekend against Munster and Leinster were to win their quarter-final, Glasgow might end up playing in Dublin a couple of weekends in a row. And then when we beat Leinster, they might do 3 weekends in a row in Dublin. So, so take out your mortgages, guys, for the hotels if you're traveling, because it's going to be expensive. But that is us for tonight for our free episode. We're going to move over to the Patreon special now. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us. Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Johnny. I will say, for now, good night, and goodbye, Craig, Johnny, Lisa.
Bye.
Well.